The massive crystalline chamber floated in the void of space, spinning slowly around the neutral planet of Kepler Prime. Inside, strange beings from across the galaxy sat in a great circle. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others looked like walking stones. A few glowed with soft light from within their transparent bodies. Admiral Velkar stood at the center of the chamber. His body was see-through like glass, and ancient symbols glowed on his skin. He was old, older than most civilizations in the room. His voice echoed to machines that translated his words into every language. "My fellow council members," he began, "we have discovered something troubling." A hologram appeared above them. It showed a small blue and green planet spinning around a yellow star. White clouds swirled over green lands and blue oceans. It looked peaceful and beautiful. "This is the third planet in a system our scouts have been watching. The creatures there call themselves humans. They are primitive. They barely understand nuclear power. Their fastest ships take years to reach their own moon." Counselor Zephi clicked his sharp mandibles together. He looked like a giant insect made of black metal. His red eyes glowed as he spoke. "Why do we waste time on such weak beings? They cannot even leave their own star system." Many of the younger council members nodded in agreement. They had weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. They traveled between stars in days. What could these primitive humans possibly do to threaten them? But in the shadows of the chamber, something ancient stirred. Mordak was so old that nobody remembered when he had first joined the council. His species had ruled the galaxy when most of the others were still learning to make fire. His voice was like wind through dead leaves. "You are making a terrible mistake," Mordak whispered. But his whisper somehow reached every corner of the vast chamber. The other council members turned to look at him. Some had never heard him speak before. He rarely came to meetings anymore, preferring to sleep in the deep archives below the station. "Ancient One," Velkar said respectfully, "please share your wisdom with us." Mordak's eyes, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle on his wrinkled face, fixed on the image of Earth. In the oldest vaults, beneath layers of dust and time, there is a message. It is written in a language that died before your stars were born. The message is simple. Let the sleeping apex remain dormant. "Apex?" asked Counselor Threnda, whose blue skin rippled with curiosity. "What does that mean?" "It means the top predator, the ultimate hunter, the species that sits at the peak of evolution's pyramid." Mordak's voice grew stronger, filled with ancient fear. "These humans, they have the signs." The chamber fell silent. Even the constant hum of the station's engines seemed to quiet down. "What signs?" Velkar asked, though something in his tone suggested he already feared the answer. Mordak raised one withered hand toward the hologram of Earth. "Look at their history. Look at how they survive. Ice ages that would kill most species only make them stronger. Diseases that should wipe them out become stepping stones to better medicine. They turn every disaster into a lesson." The hologram zoomed in, showing images from Earth's past. Humans huddled around fires during endless winters. Humans building tools from rocks and bones. Humans crossing vast oceans in tiny boats, driven by nothing but curiosity. "They adapt to everything," Mordak continued. "Desert, ice, mountains, oceans, nothing stops them. They make weapons from their tools, and tools from their weapons. When they fight each other, they learn. When they cooperate, they build wonders." Counselor Zephi laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "You speak of primitives as if they were gods. Look at them. They still use chemical rockets. They still fight wars with metal bullets." "Yes," Mordak said quietly, "they fight wars. Do you know how many wars these humans have fought in their short history? Thousands. Tens of thousands. They have spent more time perfecting the art of killing than most species spend learning to fly." The chamber grew colder. Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Every conflict teaches them something new. Every defeat shows them how to win the next battle. They are not just warriors. They are learners. They take the weapons of their enemies and make them better. They study every tactic until they master it. Young Counselor Rixen spoke up, his voice shaking slightly. "But they are so small, so weak. Their bodies break easily. They live for less than 100 years. Mordak turned his ancient gaze toward the young counselor. Their bodies are weak, yes, but their minds are weapons beyond anything we possess. They dream of impossible things, then make them real. They imagine traveling to the stars when they can barely fly, and somehow they find a way. The hologram changed again, showing recent images of human space stations, human rovers exploring other planets, human telescopes peering deep into space. They have been contained on their world by luck alone. Ice ages, plagues, meteors, their own conflicts. The universe has thrown everything at them to keep them there, but each obstacle only delays them. It never stops them. Velkar stared at the peaceful blue world spinning in the hologram. What are you suggesting, Ancient One? Mordak's 3 eyes closed slowly. When he spoke again, his voice was filled with the weight of countless years. I am suggesting that some cages are not built to keep the dangerous thing in. They are built to keep everything else safe from what lies within. The great chamber buzzed with angry voices for 3 hours after Mordak finished speaking. Representatives argued in dozens of languages, while their translation machines worked overtime. Some wanted to ignore the humans completely. Others demanded immediate action. Counselor Zephi stood up, his metal body reflecting the chamber's lights. The Ancient One fills your minds with ghost stories, he declared. These humans are no different from any other primitive species. They need guidance before they become a problem. What kind of guidance? Asked Velkar, though worry lines were already forming on his transparent face. The same kind we have used for 1,000 years. We help them focus on the right things. We prevent dangerous developments. We keep them safe from themselves. Zephai's red eyes glowed brighter. It is our duty as the advanced species of the galaxy. Young Counselor Rixen nodded eagerly. My people remember when the Valdorians developed faster-than-light travel too quickly. They destroyed 3 solar systems before we stopped them. Prevention is better than war. The vote was close. 24 species voted to intervene. 23 voted to leave the humans alone. The deciding vote came from Counselor Threnda, whose blue skin had turned pale with fear. I vote for intervention, she whispered. Better safe than sorry. Mordak said nothing. He simply closed his 3 eyes and seemed to fall asleep in his chair. But those who looked closely could see tears of silver liquid running down his ancient face. Within days, the Council's plan was in motion. They called it Operation Containment, though the official records would never use that name. Commander Zalthor, Zephai's most trusted officer, took charge of the mission. Zalthor was perfect for the job. His species had evolved to be invisible to most forms of detection. His ships could hide in plain sight. His agents could walk among other species without being noticed. Remember, Zalthor told his team as they prepared to leave for Earth's solar system, we are not destroyers. We are teachers. We guide these humans away from dangerous paths. We help them focus on their own world instead of reaching for the stars. The first human space mission to Mars launched on a cold morning in 2108. Dr. Kim Jaiwan had spent 10 years preparing for this moment. His small crew was ready to make history as the first humans to walk on another planet. They never made it. A small explosion in the engine compartment forced them to return to Earth. The official investigation blamed a faulty fuel pump. Nobody ever found the tiny device that Zalthor's agents had attached to the engine 2 days before launch. Dr. Kim cried when he heard the news. His crew was safe, but his dream was broken. The funding for the Mars project was cut the next year. Politicians said it was too dangerous, too expensive. But humans were stubborn creatures. Dr. Park Soo-jin took over Dr. Kim's work. She designed better engines, safer fuel systems. Her mission launched 3 years later. This time, the failure happened during landing. A computer error caused the landing system to malfunction. The crew barely escaped in their return capsule. Once again, the investigation found human error. Once again, nobody suspected the invisible ship that had been jamming their signals. For 50 years, the pattern continued. Every time humans reached for the stars, something went wrong. Space stations suffered mysterious accidents. Rocket launches failed at critical moments. Research facilities experienced unexplainable explosions just before major breakthroughs. Zalthor reported to the Council every year. The humans respond exactly as predicted, he said with satisfaction. Each failure makes their leaders more cautious. They blame each other instead of looking for outside causes. They waste money on investigations instead of building new ships. The plan worked perfectly. Humanity's space program stagnated. Their attention turned inward to earthly problems. Wars broke out over resources and territory, just as the Council's social manipulation programs intended. The humans were too busy fighting each other to worry about exploring space. But Zalthor made one critical mistake. He thought like a council member, not like a human. He believed that failure would discourage them, that setbacks would make them give up. He never understood that humans were born from failure. Their entire evolution was built on overcoming impossible odds. Every extinction event that should have killed them only made them stronger. Every disaster became a lesson in survival. Dr. Song Jae-ho was 12 years old when he watched the Mars mission fail on live television. He saw Dr. Park Soo-jin's tears during the news conference. He heard her promise that humans would reach Mars someday, no matter how many times they failed. That night, young Jae-ho decided to become a rocket scientist. He studied harder than any child should. He learned everything about engines, computers, and spaceflight. He memorized every failure, every accident, every mysterious malfunction. By the time he graduated from university, Jae-ho had noticed something strange. The failures were too convenient. The accidents happened at exactly the wrong moments. The computer errors always involved the most critical systems. Jae-ho was not alone. Across Earth, a new generation of scientists and engineers was growing up. They had all watched the failures. They had all felt the disappointment. But instead of giving up, they were asking questions. Questions that would soon become very dangerous for the Council. In the deep archives beneath the Council station, Mordak opened his ancient eyes. Somehow, he could feel it beginning. The humans were starting to wake up, and once they were fully awake, nothing in the universe would ever be the same. Dr. Lee Miho stared at his computer screen until his eyes burned. The numbers made no sense. For the third time this month, he ran the calculations again. The energy readings from a failed Mars mission showed something impossible. Soo-jin, come look at this, he called to his research partner. Dr. Park Soo-jin floated over in the low gravity of Luna Research Station. She had been working on the same problem for weeks. The data from their deep space sensors kept showing strange patterns. These energy signatures, Mio pointed at the screen, they only appear when our ships are in trouble. Look at this reading from the engine explosion. Look at this one from the computer failure. They're exactly the same. Soo-jin's face went pale. That is not possible. Those accidents happen years apart, in different parts of space. Unless, Mio said quietly, they were not accidents. The two scientists stared at each other. The idea was crazy, but the evidence was right there in front of them. Something was watching human space missions. Something was causing the failures. We need to tell Director Kim, Soo-jin whispered. Director Kim Jae-won listened to their presentation with a stone face. He asked no questions. He made no comments. When they finished showing their evidence, he closed the file. Equipment malfunction, he said. Your sensors are picking up radiation from the station's power core. Focus on your assigned research. But Miho knew the difference between equipment failure and deliberate sabotage. His father had been a detective before the space program recruited him. He had taught his son to recognize when people were lying. Director Kim was lying. That night, Miho copied all the data to a secure drive. He sent encrypted messages to scientists he trusted around the solar system. Within hours, the information was spreading through private networks that the authorities could not monitor. Dr. Yang Hanna was working late in her laboratory on Europa when she received the message. As soon as she saw the data, she understood. Her own research into faster-than-light travel had been destroyed by a mysterious fire 3 years ago. The investigation had blamed faulty electrical wiring. Now she realized the truth. Someone did not want humans to travel faster than light. Colonel Choi Yuna was reviewing security reports when the message reached her. She had spent 20 years in military intelligence, watching for threats to human colonies. She knew how to spot patterns that others missed. The pattern in Miho's data was clear. Every major advance in space technology had been followed by a convenient disaster. Every attempt to unite the colonies under one government had somehow failed due to political scandals. The timing was too perfect to be natural. Yuna spent 3 days checking her own files. She found dozens of incidents that fit the pattern. Communication satellites that failed during important peace talks. Supply ships that exploded just before delivering critical resources. Trade agreements that collapsed due to mysterious computer errors. Someone was actively working to keep humanity divided and trapped in their own solar system. On a cold February morning, Yuna made the most important decision of her life. She contacted news networks on Earth, Mars, Europa, and Titan simultaneously. She had enough evidence to convince anyone willing to look at the facts. The broadcast began at exactly noon, Earth time. "My fellow humans," Yuna said, looking directly into the camera, "we are not alone in the universe. And whoever is out there does not want us to leave our solar system." She showed the energy readings. She displayed the pattern of failures. She presented 50 years of evidence that could not be explained by coincidence or human error. Someone has been sabotaging our space program since the beginning. Every time we try to reach the stars, they stop us. Every time we try to work together, they divide us. They want us to stay on our worlds, fighting each other instead of exploring the galaxy. The reaction was immediate and explosive. Government officials denied everything. Scientists demanded to see the data. Military leaders called emergency meetings. Religious groups claimed it was either the end times or the beginning of a new age. But ordinary people had a different reaction. They were angry. Factory worker Young Tae-hyun was welding ship parts when he heard the news. He thought about his grandfather, who had dreamed of walking on Mars. He thought about his daughter, who wanted to be an astronaut when she grew up. Someone had been stealing their dreams for 50 years. Student Kim Nari was studying engineering when she watched the broadcast. She remembered every failed mission she had seen on the news. She thought about all the brilliant scientists who had died in mysterious accidents. Someone had been murdering their future. Across the solar system, humans stopped what they were doing and looked up at the stars. For the first time in generations, they all felt the same emotion at the same time. Rage. Pure, focused, burning rage. The governments tried to calm people down. They said the evidence was fake. They claimed it was all a misunderstanding. They promised investigations that would take years to complete. But humans had learned something important from 50 years of failure. They had learned not to trust authorities who told them to wait, to be patient, to accept limitations. Within days, underground networks were forming. Scientists shared research that governments had classified. Engineers designed new ships in secret workshops. Military officers quietly prepared for a war that no one had officially declared yet. In space, hidden sensors watched these activities with growing alarm. Commander Zalthor sent urgent messages to the Council. The humans were not reacting as predicted. Instead of panic or despair, they were organizing. And when humans organized for war, the galaxy was about to learn why the universe had tried so hard to keep them sleeping. President Han Samin stared out the window of her office at the lights of Seoul stretching to the horizon. Her secure phone had been ringing for 3 hours straight. Leaders from every nation on Earth wanted to talk. The first call came from Premier Liu Wei in Beijing. "Samin," he said without greeting, "our children have been denied the stars for 50 years. This ends today." "I agree completely," she replied. "What do you need?" Within 6 hours, enemies who had fought for generations were suddenly allies. The Korean Federation shared its advanced shipbuilding technology with China. America opened its secret research facilities to Russian scientists. European nations pooled their resources with African countries they had once colonized. For the first time in human history, every government on Earth had the same goal. Dr. Song Jae-ho received a phone call at 3 in the morning. The voice on the other end belonged to the Secretary of Global Defense, a position that had been created just hours earlier. "Dr. Song, We need your antimatter engine, the one that was destroyed in the laboratory fire 3 years ago. The research was lost, Jeho said carefully. All my notes were burned. Dr. Song, we know you kept backup files. We know you never stopped working on the project in secret. We also know that the fire was not an accident. Jeho was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. How much funding do I get? Unlimited. Dr. Yang. Hannah got a similar call an hour later. Her faster-than-light theories, once rejected by every scientific journal, were now classified as humanity's most important research. She was given a team of 300 scientists and told to make her impossible math work in the real world. How long do we have? She asked. However long it takes, came the reply. But remember, someone out there is watching us. They will try to stop us again. Let them try, Hannah said grimly. This time we are ready. The Unity Initiative began at dawn. Every space-capable nation contributed ships, resources, and people. The Chinese brought their massive manufacturing capability. The Americans provided their advanced computer systems. The Europeans offered their precision engineering. The Russians shared their experience with long-duration spaceflight. But it was not just governments working together. Private companies opened their workshops to military engineers. University students worked alongside retired astronauts. Farmers donated metal from their equipment to build ship hulls. Commander Zalthor watched the human activity through his invisible sensors. What he saw made no sense according to every prediction model the Council had ever developed. The humans were not panicking. They were not fighting each other. Instead, they were working together with efficiency that terrified him. Counselors F. High, he reported, the humans are building ships, not just 1 or 2 experimental craft. They are constructing an entire fleet. Impossible, Zephi replied. Their technology is centuries behind ours. It would take them decades to develop faster-than-light travel. Sir, they are not taking decades. They are adapting our own technology. What do you mean? They recovered fragments from our sabotage devices. Instead of studying them slowly like normal species would do, they reverse-engineered everything in weeks. Then they improved on our designs. Zephai's mandibles clicked nervously. How much have they improved? Their ships are now 20% faster than ours. The first human warship completed construction in a hidden facility on the far side of Earth's moon. They named it TS Retribution. Admiral Park Jinwoo, who had lost his brother in one of the sabotage missions, volunteered to command it. Sir, his navigation officer reported, we have successfully tested the faster-than-light drive. We are ready to depart. Where are we going? Asked the communications officer. To have a conversation with our neighbors, Jinwoo replied, set course for the nearest council territory. The Retribution vanished in a flash of blue light. It reappeared 3 days later at the edge of Korthak space, where Commander Zalthor's fleet was stationed. Alarms screamed throughout the invisible Korthak ships. Something had just appeared on their sensors that should not exist. A human ship, traveling faster than light, armed with weapons that registered as completely unknown. This is Admiral Park Jinwoo of the Terran Earthship Retribution. Came the transmission on all council frequencies. I think it is time we had a talk. More flashes of light appeared around the Korthak fleet. The humans had not sent 1 ship. They had sent 12. Zalthor stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The human ships were surrounding his fleet with precision that spoke of careful planning. Their weapons were powered up and aimed directly at his command ship. How is this possible? He whispered. They were barely capable of reaching their own moon just months ago. Admiral Jinwoo's voice filled the communication channel again. Commander Zalthor, we know you are listening. We know you have been watching us for 50 years. We know you have been sabotaging our missions and killing our people. The human admiral paused, letting that sink in. You want to keep us in our cage. We have just realized something important. His voice grew cold with controlled fury. The cage was not there to contain us. It was there to protect you from us. On the council station, Ancient Mordak opened his 3 eyes and sighed deeply. The sleeping apex had finally awakened, and the universe would never be safe again. The war lasted exactly 43 days. Not because the humans lacked the power to end it sooner, but because they wanted to send a message to every species in the galaxy. General Kim Tae-young stood on the bridge of the TS Vengeance, watching the Battle of Proxima Station unfold on her tactical screens. The Korthak Empire had made their final stand here, using 3 million civilian refugees as human shields around their military station. General, her weapons officer reported, we have clear shots at their command ship, but the civilians. I see them, Tae-young replied calmly. Execute Plan 7. What happened next would become legend throughout the galaxy. Instead of retreating or accepting casualties, the human fleet did something no other species had ever attempted. They disabled every single ship in the system simultaneously. Using precisely targeted electromagnetic pulses, they shut down life support on military vessels while leaving civilian ships untouched. Then human Marines teleported directly onto each disabled warship, moving through the corridors with surgical precision. Within 2 hours, every Korthak soldier was captured. Every civilian was safe. Not a single innocent life was lost. Admiral Zeph Hai, the Korthak commander who had started this war, found himself face-to-face with General Tae-young in his own command center. How? He asked, his mandibles clicking in confusion. How did you know exactly which ships held civilians and which held soldiers? Tae-young smiled coldly. We have been studying your people for 50 years, Admiral. We know how you think. We know how you fight. We know your weaknesses better than you do. The same pattern repeated across the galaxy. Species that surrendered immediately were treated with unexpected mercy. Their worlds were occupied but protected. Their people were fed and cared for. Human administrators actually improved living conditions in many cases. But species that continued to resist faced something far more terrifying than conquest. They faced extinction. The Valdorian Republic refused to surrender, believing their ancient battle stations could hold off any attack. They had spent 1,000 years building fortress worlds that were supposed to be impossible to destroy. Admiral Lee Hyojin's fleet arrived at the Valdorian home system on day 38 of the war. She sent one message to the planet below. You have 1 hour to evacuate all civilian populations to the outer moons. After that, your military installations will be removed from existence. The Valdorians laughed. Their shields had never been broken. Their weapons could destroy entire fleets. What could these primitive humans possibly do? 59 minutes later, they found out. The human ships did not fire energy weapons or launch missiles. Instead, they dropped small metal cylinders that fell through the atmosphere like raindrops. Each cylinder was only the size of a human fist, but they fell at 90% of light speed. When the cylinders hit the fortress walls, they released more energy than nuclear bombs. But the energy was focused with impossible precision. Military installations simply vanished, turned into clouds of superheated gas. Civilian areas remained completely untouched. In 15 minutes, 1,000 years of Valdorian military power was reduced to glowing craters. The humans had not conquered their world. They had surgically removed their ability to make war. By day 40, only one species still resisted. The Etherian Collective, led by Admiral Velkar, had retreated to the Council's main station. They sent desperate messages to every corner of the galaxy, begging for help that never came. On day 43, Admiral Park Jinwa's flagship appeared outside the council chambers. But he did not come with weapons blazing. He came alone in a small shuttle, requesting permission to dock. Ancient Mordak met him at the airlock, the old being moved slowly, his 3 eyes dim with age and defeat. I suppose you come to destroy us, Mordak said. No, Jinwu replied. I have come to talk. They walked through empty corridors to the great crystal chamber where the council had once ruled the galaxy. Only a handful of representatives remained. Most had fled to their home worlds or surrendered to human forces. Admiral Velkar stood at the center of the chamber, his transparent body flickering with shame and fear. What do you want from us? He asked. We want the truth, Jinwu said simply. All of it. Every species you have manipulated. Every civilization you have destroyed. Every lie you have told to maintain your power. And then we decide what comes next. Commander Lee Hyojin stepped forward, holding a data pad. She had been chosen to speak for humanity at this moment. The Galactic Council is dissolved, she announced. In its place, we established the Terran Compact. Every species will be represented equally. Every decision will be made openly, and there will be absolute consequences for deception. Velkar's form shimmered with desperation. You cannot rule the entire galaxy. It is too vast, too complex. We are not going to rule it, Hyojin replied. We are going to protect it. From species like you think they know what is best for everyone else. She gestured toward the stars visible through the chamber's crystal walls. From now on, humanity will patrol the borders between worlds. We will watch for new threats. We will prevent any species from becoming what you became. Mordak nodded slowly. The sleeping apex is now fully awake. Yes, Jinwoo agreed. And we will make sure the galaxy never needs to sleep in fear again. As human ships spread across the galaxy, children on countless worlds learn a new lesson. Some creatures are kept in cages not to punish them, but to protect everything else from their terrible power. The universe had tried to keep humanity contained. Now humanity would contain the universe's nightmares instead.